your baby will get the nutrients they need from your breast milk at your expense. So if your diet is not providing these raw materials, we start breaking down bone to make sure that it's there. And this is a big part of why I think issues postpartum are so common, and just women don't feel like they ever get back to that same level of vitality. So I'm going in expecting to eat a lot more. Breastfeeding is a high calorie burn experience.
Yeah, it is.
And then to really be focusing on things like extra minerals. So calcium is top of mind. That's one of the ones that is pretty abundant in breast milk. And again, we'll break down bone to make sure that baby has that. And then I'm just continuing my same prenatal nutrition plan after. And that's another thing that we see in our clients is, positive pregnancy test, boom, start prenatal. Deliver baby, stop prenatal.
Yeah.
But the nutrient, the nutrient demands actually only increase after delivery if you're going to be breastfeeding. So I personally plan to continue that same level of support for at least a year after. It's kind of been my norm. I mean, we're calling it the prenatal, but I've been taking that for a long time. So just kind of ongoing nutrient support.
Yeah, that makes a whole lot of sense. And because we're on the topic of breast milk, there's, that can get controversial in and of itself, like everything else with pregnancy, right? Like fed is best versus breast is best. And again, not here to shame, but just objectively speaking, breast milk is a bloody miracle. The way it can just pick up on things and produce different cytokines. If the baby bangs his head, the breast milk changes. If the mama kisses the baby's mouth, it picks up on bacteria and adjusts the immunoglobulins. Like it, absolutely fascinating. You're never going to be able to replace that in formula. But what I'm interested in is the vast majority of women do breastfeed when they first give birth. It's like 85% they attempt to, but by 1 year, it's less than a third. So the drop off is astronomical. And I think there's a new number of things going on here from the time commitment and stuff, but I'm sure like nutrients and electrolytes and stuff. What do you think about there in terms of a woman successfully, hopefully breastfeeding?
Yeah. I mean, the nutrient stuff is a big deal, and just energy availability. It's such an energy demand on the body to be like a 24-hour kitchen for a baby. So if we're not eating enough, or we just kind of lose vigilance on that, we're going to see milk supply dwindle. And then the same thing with stress. So when the body doesn't feel safe, we're no longer prioritizing things that aren't essential for our survival. So whether that's not having support that you need postpartum, whether it's going back to work maybe sooner than you felt ready for, maybe that's just life circumstances. There's a lot of reasons for stress, sleep deprivation being a really common one at that time. But all of those things would work against milk supply. And once that starts to dwindle, it can be hard to recover from. And then it just becomes a stressful thing. And then that adds to it too. So I think, the nutrient intake of our food, even the total amount, and then looking at the state of the nervous system and stress overall.
Yeah. And the nutrient thing as well, not just for the mother to be able to produce and put out all of that, because you said it's very kind of extractive, but there's some ties potentially to the formation of the child's face and the long and lip ties, which is going to interfere with potentially a good latch, which could be really painful for mom. Baby doesn't like it. They're getting gassy. So it's quite a rabbit hole, but I think it's another testament to really, really having to think consciously about this nutritional piece, because you're potentially also going to influence that, right?
Absolutely. Gosh, that's a deep rabbit hole that we've been down. I think we talked about it a little bit last time I was here. I had a tongue tie release done since I last saw you. So I will say doing that in your 30s, not a good time.
Not ideal.
So ideally, finding that in your kid very early on, or setting them up for really good like jaw and palate development, and breastfeeding is how we do that.
Right.
And, of course, when we introduce food, making sure they're having foods that they're actually having to chew. And that's a thing for adults as well. But there's a lot that we can do, or a lot that goes into breastfeeding above and beyond just feeding them. And that palate and jaw development is a big part of it. It's top of mind for us after this whole saga of tongue tie stuff.
I bet. Well, I had a tongue tie with my first, and we got it reversed when he was like maybe 18 months. And even that felt a little late, because I think if you identify, and we didn't know, we actually did see a lactation consultant. She was like, no, there's no tongue tie. It turned out he had pretty severe top and bottom and lip, and it was bad, because you have to do the stretches every 4 hours. That means you're waking them up to stretch, and you now know the pain of that. I can't imagine that's much fun.
No, it really wasn't.
So luckily it doesn't look like our new guy has one, which is great. And there was, a little bit more focus on certain, minerals and certain supplements which could potentially help. But there's a whole host of things that can come up here and make these things, you know, problematic.
Definitely.
Hello, friends. If you enjoyed that clip, then you can watch the entire thing by heading to this link over here, or you can find us wherever you find podcasts by searching Radical Health Radio. If there's value here, please hit that like button. Let us know in a comment what your biggest takeaway was, and hit subscribe. Support the show as we support you. We'll see you soon.